So we got these chickens about a few weeks ago, and they've been in our basement in quarantine to make sure that they're healthy and that they could grow a little bit more before we bring them outside with the other chickens. One of them did pass away, unfortunately. We did everything we could to save her, but and got medication from the vet. Hi. But unfortunately, we couldn't save her. These ones all survived. They're all doing really, really well, and they are ready to get out of here. So we have a couple different breeds. They're mixed breeds. I think we have lavender Orpington mixes, perhaps some Samanni mixes. One of them is a rooster for sure. The other ones we think are hens. So there's 6 hens and 1 rooster. And they are ready to go outside. It was the first day of spring, so it's a perfect day to get out there. The weather's beautiful. So what we're gonna do is we are going to get them into a bin. We're going to collapse this crate, fully clean it out, and put it into the coop in the barn. So that way they can integrate with the other chickens without being able to touch each other first, get themselves used to each other, and then we will let them out in a couple weeks to be fully with the rest of the flock. So all the other chickens are outside right now. We wanted them to be out there while we did this. What we're going to do is we're just going to go get their food and their water, and we're going to get some towels or blankets to put on top. Okay. And I'm going to get them their roosting barn. Reggie wants to eat their food. Okay, so I think we've got everybody all set up. We changed out the roosting bar for something a bit more sturdy for them. Put their water up on blocks so that they don't put shavings into it. And then we've given everybody some cabbage as a treat to hopefully ease some of any tensions. So we've got everybody enjoying some nice treats. Reggie seems a little bit on edge, but not too bad. And the hens don't really care about the new chickens. The new hens seem to care more about getting at their food and water, the new hens' food and water, than anything else. So far, so good. And I think everything is going to be okay. We'll check on them as frequently as we can. Reggie, if you notice, Reggie still has a little bit. Reggie still has some leftover frostbite marks on his comb and wattles. There's not much we can do about it now. Unfortunately, he did get some frostbite, but he's doing much better now, and the color's returning to them, so I think he's going to be just fine. And now that the weather's warming up, it's going to be plus 12 Celsius today, and it looks like for the forecast the next 2 weeks, it's not going to go below 0 at night, except for maybe tonight, and not by much. So that's looking good, and we're just going to keep an eye on everybody. In a previous video where I asked you guys for some suggestions of videos that you'd like to see, one thing that was brought up was a book review. So I thought I would go over some of the homesteading or homesteading related books that I have. Before we get to the books, I did want to show you guys, we got a drone. So for my birthday, my parents got us a drone with a camera, and I had asked for that so that we could add them to our YouTube videos. So I'm still getting used to how to fly it. It is a lot more difficult than it looks, but it is a lot of fun. So we've been having a lot of fun with that. We've been trying to practice with it inside and outside, and get some practice in so we can get some videos. So it's a really cool drone, folds up really small, so it doesn't require any licensing, because if it's above a certain weight, in Canada at least, you need a pilot's license, which I do not have. So if it's within those guidelines, no licensing required, and it comes with a handy case, and the controller with your phone sits on it. So I was going to name the drone Bug, just because it's small and it flies around, but after trying to fly it the first time, we decided we were going to name it Crash. With that in mind, I'm going to show you a quick clip of me trying to fly Crash. So as you can see, it definitely needs some more practice with that. The camera's pretty good, but obviously it's still a bit unsteady because I'm still learning how to fly it. But I think once we get the hang of that, we'll be able to get some really nice shots of the property and the animals and just the landscape in general. So I'm really excited about that. Let's get to the books. So the first one I'm going to talk about is this one. It's called the Encyclopedia of Country Living. It was incredibly cheap for what it is and the size of it. It's absolutely massive. I have not read this one cover to cover because it is not really a book that you do that with. It's more of a reference guide, but I have read through several of the sections that were of interest to me. But here we have general living sustainably, raising chickens, herbal remedies, planting a garden, building a barn, milling flour, foraging, making soap, preserving foods, delivering a baby, beekeeping, spinning wool, making sausage, chopping maple trees, etc., etc., etc. So it covers so many topics, and it's really well written and quite easy to read, and it's a great reference book. So I think we're going to be using this one for many, many years to come. Second book I have here is Keeping a Family Cow. This one I found through Justin Rhodes, who, if you watch other homesteading channels, you probably know them and their channel, and they use this book a lot and they talk about it a lot. So I got it. I did read this one cover to cover, and I really loved it. The only problem with this book is it makes me want a cow now. And we have a plan for a cow in 3 years. So it's got some really great information. I learned so much about things that I had no idea, and I feel like I have a better understanding now. And it has information in there that I know will be good as reference tools for illnesses and things that come up, and troubleshooting those sorts of things. So I recommend this book as well. Then I have Keeping Bees with a Smile, Principles and Practice of Natural Beekeeping. So this one is primarily for horizontal hives. And I really love the idea of horizontal hives because I have a bad back, and I don't like the idea of the traditional like Langstroth hives where each one of those boxes, when it's full of honey, can be upwards of 50 pounds or more. And there's no way, especially when they get tall, that I'd be able to lift that myself. So I do like the idea of horizontal hives for that reason, as well as there's other practical reasons for it and benefits to the bees. So I did want to learn more about that with this book. And I have not quite finished it. I did get a little bit hung up when it started to get a little bit what felt like anti-vaxxer vibes from it. So definitely I think with this book, with my own personal philosophies, I'm going to be able to... I have a burr. I was walking around the property earlier. So I think with this book, it's going to be more of a pick and choose the information and the philosophies from it that I would like to adopt in my beekeeping in the future. I do think there's lots of benefits to doing things naturally, but I don't think that is the only way to do things. So there's things in here that I don't agree with, but a lot of the base broad information about horizontal hives and general beekeeping in general is very good. So I'm going to finish this, but I would say take some of the information with a grain of salt. Okay, I got 2 cheese books here. I have Artisan Cheesemaking at Home and Mastering Artisan Cheesemaking. So I will say that if you've never made cheese before, this is a great book. It has a lot of the basic information on making cheese, and it has really simple, easy to follow recipes. It organizes the information in order of like the difficulty of making like that kind of cheese. So you have your soft cheese, your hard cheeses, your bloomy rind cheeses, that sort of thing, and those are different difficulty levels basically. So this one is a great book if you don't have any cheesemaking books or any cheesemaking experience. This is a great one to start with. However, this one I will say can be a little bit intimidating, and it intimidates me a little bit because it has some really wonderful information, a lot of more in-depth theoretical information. It also has like quizzes for you so that you're not just retaining information, you're actually processing it, and you can apply it to different scenarios of like troubleshooting with cheese making. So that's really good, but it is a bit more in-depth. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have specific recipes where you're like, okay, I want to make a Gouda, look up the Gouda recipe. Instead, it has more of like a type of cheese. You have, where is this, for example? So this one is called Quick and Easy, an added acid and heat coagulated cheese. So it's basically describing paneer, but not exactly. So it doesn't give you a type of cheese, like it doesn't give you a specific kind of cheese. It gives you a type, and it's like, okay, like this one's a smooth and creamy Bulgarian style brined cheese. But it doesn't say it's Havarti or whatever. So if you don't have a really good understanding of all of the intricacies of cheese making and what different cheeses, cheese properties are applied to each kind of cheese, this book's not going to make a whole lot of sense in terms of as a recipe book. However, as an information book, it's absolutely fantastic, but it's definitely not a beginner book. Next we have Charcuterie, which is the craft of salting, smoking, and curing. So this is all about how to preserve different kinds of meats and the different preserving techniques for charcuterie. And it's a really great book. I haven't used any of the recipes yet, but I have read most of the book. I know it's a recipe book, but I have read most of it. And I'm really excited to try out some of these recipes, as well as the theory in preserving meat in this way. I think it'll be especially good when we do start raising our own pork, because that way we can use some of the cuts to make some of these fancier meats and preserve the meat in a different way, as opposed to eating it right away or freezing it or possibly canning it. It's just another way of preserving that I'm excited to learn about. One criticism that I have heard from this book is that some people feel that their recipes call for too much salt. So that is something that as I said, I haven't done any of the recipes yet, so I can't comment on that specifically, but that is something that I have heard. Other than that, this book is recommended over and over and over again whenever I see forums online and Facebook groups and that for a book like this. This one is always recommended. People really love this book, and that's why I got it. And I'm really looking forward to being able to put some of these recipes to use. Last but not least, I have another reference guide. This is butchering, and this one is heavy, but it goes over in very, very, very good detail and with lots of pictures, which is really helpful for butchering, because trying to describe that to someone, I feel like is pretty difficult. But it goes over butchering poultry, rabbit, lamb, goat, and pork, as well as the home slaughtering for those animals as well. So I'm going to put a warning that I am going to show some images here. So if you don't want to see that, this is your warning. So we have, for example, for rabbit, for each animal, it goes over different ways you can butcher it. And there's obviously different ways that you can make cuts depending on what you're looking for in that animal. But just as an example here, it has step-by-step of every step of that butchering technique, where you make the cuts, and from different angles, different views. and it makes it super easy to follow along if you were to have this open in your kitchen while you're butchering your first rabbit or your 100th rabbit even. And it just goes through step by step, and as well as the humane slaughtering at home techniques for those animals as well. So that one's going to come in handy as well. Danny's obviously has a lot of experience with slaughtering and butchering as a hunter, but not all of those game animals are exactly the same as farm-raised animals, but a lot of the principles are the same. So this one's more for me and for my reference, but it is a very good book. I definitely would recommend that one as well. So I do have some other books, but I'm not going to go over, every book on our bookshelf. But let me know what books you have that you think I would like based on these ones. Any recommendations that you have for me, and any other videos that you guys are looking to see. I know that we took a bit of a video break for a little while. I was trying to put out a video every week or every 2 weeks, but unfortunately we fell into a kind of a slump in February where it was both very hectic around here, but also not very exciting. So we felt like we were doing a lot of things, but nothing that was really, worthy of a video or entertaining in any way. Anything to add? No. Thanks for joining us again. Stay tuned for some more videos as spring is finally here, and we'll have a lot more going on at the homestead that we'd love to share with you. Speaking of sharing, if you'd love to share our videos with your friends and family, and you think they'd be interested in what we do here, that would be awesome. And if not, either way, leave a comment below if you have any questions, comments, suggestions. I'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll see you next time.